Retention, the definition is whether women remain as participants at some definable level in the study. Are they available for follow-up assessments? Do they come to visits? Do they complete forms? Most importantly, are they providing outcome information? And then we like to think about protecting or optimizing retention and adherence in terms of primary, secondary, and tertiary prevention. So primary prevention is strategies that minimize the number of participants enrolled who are potential risks for poor retention and adherence. And secondly, strategies to keep participants on track. Sometimes when you have an apparently eligible woman in front of you, there are tangible signs and symptoms that she's probably not going to complete the protocol. People that it takes you 3 or 4 times to schedule. People that come to clinic smelling of alcohol. You know, things like these are signs that this person may not be the best candidate.
Completing your hot flash diary in the waiting room.
All the days of it, 14
yes,
days.
All days of it. That's a really bad sign.
Yeah. Secondary prevention would be once a woman's already randomized, early identification and tracking of participants whose adherence is slipping. And you can just you know, we'll be telling you about the 1-week phone call and what we can do to help people be more adherent. And it's been shown to be very effective to help people with adherence in that first period. Strategies to assist participants to improve adherence and retention will be given to you that you can give to them. We will give you a list of things that may be helpful for managing side effects if they report them, and other strategies that help them stay on track. Tertiary prevention is after someone's quit. Sometimes it's appropriate to ask them if they want to restart. Always it's appropriate to try and get them in for their follow-up visits, even if they're not taking study medicine, because we want to have as complete a follow-up as possible, even if we don't have perfect adherence. So let's talk about some of these again. This is a little duplicative, but it's the visualization of primary, secondary, and tertiary prevention. Step 1 is identify the most promising participants. The problem is that you're striving towards a recruitment goal, and you have to balance that against the need to recruit participants who are fully committed to the study. The way you accomplish this is you fully inform participants about study burden, do not minimize inconvenience and effort required. You fully inform them about the fact that benefits may not be accrued by them in the research trial. They may not get any better with their hot flashes. You fully inform about the meaning of randomization, that they won't know what treatment they're taking, and it may not be an active treatment that's designed to make them get better. But that's how we learn about what treatments are effective and what treatments are not. And the beauty of the Freeman protocols is only 8 weeks long. And I think that can go a long way. Most women have put up with their hot flashes for a long time. And 8 weeks in the context of the many years we might have them is a relatively short period. You can employ a run-in. We're not employing a placebo or an active drug run-in, but we are asking them to complete hot flash diaries for 2 full weeks before they come to clinic the first time. And in a sense, that's a run-in. Because if they hate filling out the hot flash diary, they're not going to complete that, and you'll never see them in clinic. And that'll be their own way of saying, this isn't for me, you know? And then attend to subtle and overt cues during screening visits, as we've already talked about. Rescheduling lateness, difficulty contacting, filling out all your forms right before you walk in, etc. And then in terms of primary prevention, how do we keep people on track? Well, the 1-week adherence phone call is crucial. We want to track behavior and performance carefully. We want to communicate clearly with the participants and then amongst the study staff so that you know that everybody knows if somebody needs something who might be interacting with that person. Early identification of at-risk participants, rewards, recognition, and reinforcement for good adherence. So we'll actually be paying women in the Freeman protocol for their clinic visits, which will help. Being nice to them helps. Having a clinic environment that they really enjoy coming to is really a plus for people. And we've already talked about the cash incentives. We also may have things that we give them, like mugs and pens and things like that. Bags. We're looking at some bags. We're going to ask the women to bring in a chilled urine specimen, overnight urine collection, to the second screening visit. So we're looking at some pool bags that are insulated that they can keep. And then they can carry their ice cream in them after they're done carrying their urine in them. So retention and adherence, multi-tiered approaches. Lynn Fleckenstein and Rebecca Segan will be your liaisons to the Data Coordinating Center. They will communicate directly with you at the clinic, offer technical assistance, conduct retention conference calls, and run email and teleconference support groups about the trials to help you with whatever problems you're having. It's Lynn's primary job to be clinic liaison, and Rebecca will be backing her up. Performance Monitoring Committee, we don't have a name exactly for this committee yet, but we'll have a group within the trial that reviews performance statistics on all the clinics and provides recommendations if anyone's struggling to meet the demands of a trial. And then a working group to address global study-wide issues if they arise. If something needs to be adjusted in the protocol or we're running into an issue, we'll have the steering committee or another working group address that. Network retention efforts that we visualize right now, again, the one-week phone call for the Freeman protocol, visit incentives, thank you retention letters, and sometimes we've sent the letters to the women from NIH, signed by a government person who is typically a woman who can really thank them on behalf of the citizens of our country for their service. And then close out materials to recognize participation. Maybe we can get Michelle Obama, right? Trial monitoring, progress, safety, and efficacy. The Network Steering Committee will be monitoring any reports that we can generate about our progress through the trial. That's internal monitoring, but we'll all be blinded except for Catherine Guthrie, the lead statistician, and maybe Garnet. The rest of us will not know whether any of those metrics differ between the treatment groups. We'll be preparing DSMB reports, and the DSMB will be meeting, did they decide how often?
As needed, but at least twice a year.
At least twice a year, or as needed, more frequently. You'll be reporting things to your IRB that you're required to report. We all have IRB approvals to do any of these trials, so that's a level of monitoring that we'll be doing. We'll have protocol-driven safety monitoring for every randomized participant, and that'll be part of what you hear from Barb Cochran tomorrow. And all of us are responsible for protecting the safety of the women in the trial. So, are all data created equal? And my question to you is, what aspects of the data are most crucial? Are they all the same? We're going to show you a questionnaire that's pretty long. What's the most important element of data that we'll be collecting? The first most important. Go ahead and take a stab. Hot flash diary. Outcome data is outcome data rules. And what's equally important?
Number of pills they took?
Well, adherence, adherence is important, but not as important as the safety data. We want to get safety, and we want to get outcome data. We want to know they're not being hurt by their participation in the trial on the individual level. And on the aggregate level, we want to know how tolerable the medicine is, because we've got to balance that against any efficacy outcome. So those two things, outcome and safety, we'll be showing you a protocol for how things will work when everything goes well. The woman comes to clinic, you do X, Y, and Z during her visit, you enter the data, she goes home, takes all her pills, comes back 4 weeks later, you do X, Y, and Z again, and enter the data. What about the woman you can't get back? We're going to have to think, out of the box about how to get the most important data from the women once they're randomized. That might be talking to her on the phone and saying, read me the entries on your hot flash diary, or mail it into me so I can enter it. That's the most important thing. If you can't strictly adhere to the follow-up protocol, then you think out of the box about how you can get the most data from that woman that you can and keep her in it.